There is nothing you can do to prepare yourself for awakening. Grace is unpredictable. Awakening is not mathematical. These are three myths. And there's a quote here by Eckhart Tolle saying there's nothing you can do to prepare yourself. Well, this is completely untrue. It was also untrue for him because he wasn't prepared and he went dysfunctional for 2 years, as have a number of other teachers who just spontaneously awoke without the background training of how to deal with being the no person, the nothing. So I'm Jason for AwakenedEssence.com. You have psychology. When you are born as a baby, you don't have the personality structures and the psychology in place to be a functional human. If they get ripped away, you become useless. You cannot function, you cannot cope with the world. You hide in a cave, you can't work, you can't relate to people. This is what happens when your identity vanishes on you if you have a spontaneous kaboom and you awaken. Ramana Maharshi, 15 years in a cave. Everybody likes to fantasize it's because he was so attracted to God and all the bliss and stuff. Yeah, this is true, but you can also handle that while you're working in a toxic corporate environment. And it's a lot harder to do it in a toxic corporate environment, which means you've done it better than Ramana had. Eventually they dragged him out of the cave and people came and sat with him. They forced him. He didn't want to do it. This is the thing. As humans, we like to create fantasies. Let's get real. If you're watching this video, you own a phone, you've got access to the internet, or you've got a computer and you're accessing the internet. You're in an advanced civilization where money is required and you have to function. So your spiritual practice to handle that infinite nothingness that is everything needs to be done just to do that. So you can handle the nothingness. So your personality is comfortable with the nothingness. The ego doesn't like infinity because it's learnt to be contracted and shut off. It has all these safety mechanisms in place. The known boundaries of me, mine, right? We develop that when we're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, blah, 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 21. We develop these so we can function in the world, so we know that the other person's car is theirs, and if we steal it, we get into trouble. When everything is no boundaries and just space, or connected, I mean, it's the same thing. There is no ownership. But through practicing presence correctly, what it does is it allows your psychological protection, your sense of boundaries to open up so you can access this nothingness, this presence, this bliss, this peace, this stillness, and all those good words that we like to say we want as a person. Because it feels good. If you just open up and you haven't sorted through, your system hasn't figured out how to deal with this infinite nothingness while it's still a person, you find yourself in a bit of trouble and you can't function. End of story. I've met people that have actually had this happen. Normal people. So when you practice the presence practice as described in this website, as described specifically by Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now, feel your body. Do it as I speak about it. Be aware of your hands, one here and one here. Feel them, the physicalities. Be aware of your backside. Be aware of your tummy breathing, or your tummy. If you're chest breathing, be aware of that, and be aware of your tummy. As soon as you're aware of it, it will shift, because if you're breathing up here, it's because you're stressed. All right? Physiological fact. And what do you think a sigh is with the belly? Be aware of your belly, hands, backside, pelvic floor. Pelvic floor is a really great place to be aware of. It gets you grounded. Now, all these areas make a space. Can you hold all those areas at the same time? You will with practice, because you'll get better at it. And this is what the presence practice is about, is getting good at being grounded with presence in your body so you are functional. All of your neurology, when you relax in, it changes the brainwave patterns. Alpha, theta brainwave patterns, not the beta, not the left brain stuff, the thinking stuff. You go into whole brain, right side of the brain activates, and it relaxes the deeper areas of the brain, the limbic system, the brainstem, the reptilian brain. And your neurology in your body activates when you feel it, activates the solar plexus. So you can handle the presence correctly, and it's grounded. You're not sort of all glazed-eyed and floating off with the fairies and the angels. Here. How much are you feeling in your body, and are you feeling that space, the inner space, the subtlety, and possibly the nothingness that's everything, the void? It can take a fair amount of practice to get to that point when you're aware of the nothingness. Or is that a concept, and you'll go, and you've created it in your head? Here's the question for you. Can you tell the difference? Can you seriously tell the difference? Because if you come into coaching, or we have an introductory coaching session at the cut price, or just a 20-minute chat, and I tune into you, I will be able to tell you where you are in terms of your groundedness. I will feel it. Because I'm anchored here with the nothingness, which is also including you. That's how it works. That's why Adyashanti can do it. That's why when I work with a group, I feel the collective, and I can feel when one person pings. Ooh, I might not specifically know who in a group, but I certainly feel it. When you merge with the nothingness, it's grounded. Well, if you're in your body, it's grounded. If you're creating in your head, then it's just a mental plane, mental body thing, and you'll swear black and blue it's real. I did it for many, many, many years, so I know how real I thought it was. Till I discovered this thing called torso, belly, pelvic floor, and landed in it. Woo! Huge difference. Do you specifically know the difference? Because people that are stuck in their head, oh, there's no doer, it's just here, man. Well, even worse, there's teachers out there that are the non-dual thing. Oh, you can't say it, you can't point to it, you can't cognize it, and if you are, then it's not it. I mean, they're lost, totally lost. Whew. Fairyland, and they'll swear black and blue they've got it. They've got all the words, but it feels fake. It feels mental body, and the reason I know that is because I'm grounded in here. It's like they're in first grade, they're playing tennis, and they're trying to tell Roger Federer how to serve a tennis ball. even though they might be the best person in the first grade at their school that plays tennis. They're in the first grade. Or those people are right up here in their heads and their mental bodies are worse. It's concept land. If you can't ground it in here, and it's grounded in here throughout your life, happenings, good things, watching movies, playing with social media, having arguments, having a car crash, pain, physical pain, emotional pain, even when you get triggered into your crap and your amygdala fires off and you go into your emotional garbage, you can still be grounded here in the nothingness, aware of the peace and the bliss and the stillness and all those good things while you feel like crap. Because when you are present, you allow, there is no resistance. As Adyashanti says, allowing everything to be just as it is. This includes what's arising in terms of emotions, because they're the messenger. Hey, something to look at here, brother or sister. What is it you got to look at? Look at it. Hold the presence. Ooh, okay, so this anger and blah-de-blah-de-blahs is to do with this. Okay, then you'll get a sense of the belief system's mental body. Because you're with the emotion, emotion, energy and motion, it can move through and it will last as long as it does. Depending on you, the levels of trauma when it was all first installed, how young you were, if that trauma actually did stuff like affect the development of your brain and your amygdala and all that stuff, because it does. And those areas of the brain are very, very difficult to shift. When you understand the depth psychology that Jung talked about, and how the self, the ego with the small s, deals with life and the archetypes and all that stuff, when the big self, you, your presence, your stillness merges in, and you go through the individuation process, they coexist. And they need to be balanced. So of course you still have an ego afterwards. If you don't, and it's not balanced, then you have mana personality. Cult leaders, things like that. They're not balanced and they do stuff that's agenda laden. They will tell you, devote yourself to me and rah-de-rah-de-rahs. They're asking for your sense of self to be given to them so they can control you, because they know best. No, they don't. Their job is to bring you back to presence over and over and over so you can handle it when you fall over and break a leg, and hold your presence while you're in excruciating agony. That's their job. It's my job. And if you want clarity on it, yeah, you come into coaching and you'll be bumped and given the bumped up, and so you know, so you've got those measuring sticks and you can see, and I can point out what you're doing with your head and your emotions and what's in the way. That's what a teacher is for, not to own you or control you. So, you're aware of your presence at the moment? You're aware of your backside, your hands, and the space inside. So your practice builds the accustomization, is the word I like to use, your familiarity with being nothing, because the ego, when it first starts happening, it freaks out, doesn't it? Have you ever had those meditations where you go into that space and and your head sort of rockets off and you lose your stillness, your quietness, and your mind gets all chatty and you race off and you can't get it back? It's because your system's not quite used to it yet. It's a bit like a bath, you know, you can run a bath and it's kind of just a bit too hot, you stick your toe in, right? But you slowly get in, and you get your body in, and it's like it's really, really hot. And then after you get past that hot bit, then you're okay. It's a bit like that. You get used to the temperature. You raise up in vibration to be used to that nothingness, so when it becomes a lot more permanent and chunks of your protective mechanisms and your personal will, ego, fall away, you can still function. This is why you'll have generally you'll have numerous awakenings. When you come to the place of abiding awakening, you'll still have more awakenings and things will deepen. And then huge chunks of your personality fall away. All of a sudden you have no desire, no motivation. Things that you really loved all of a sudden hold no interest for you. It's all part of the process, but because you're so connected and anchored and familiar with the nothingness, the presence, the stillness, you're okay with it. And because unconsciously, your unconscious mind and the prime directives, the laws of the unconscious mind keep operating, means at the unconscious level, which is most of you, is okay with this process of being aware of the presence and being here with it. But you still are choosing it. And consciously you check in. Is it there? Yeah. Because it's good. And then it keeps deepening. You keep deepening in your awakening. If you don't keep practicing after you awaken, bad habits stay. You just think you got it, but have you? Check out what happens in your life, and if it's still there, tangibly in the body, when things go on throughout your day. The evidence should be measurable for you. If not, then you haven't done it properly. I love talking about Roger Federer. He knows how to serve. He knows what's required. He knows how to get everything ready, how to get the plan, and how to evaluate what the competition is up to and what their shortcomings are and what works against them. And by then they probably know them very well. It's just like, yeah, that's where they are at the moment. All right, boom. His unconscious mind does all the serving, but he's done the training. You are doing the same thing. You are doing the training to take you into that place of awakening so you can handle it. There is no shortcut. If you accidentally get shortcut, isn't that beautiful? If you accidentally do the shortcut, you'll find it difficult and you'll have trouble adjusting. So you can prepare yourself. In fact, it's best you do. So if you're going to sit on the couch and think enlightenment's going to come and grace you just because you've read a book, it won't work that way. It simply won't. If you say you're keen, you're watching this video and you haven't practiced while you've been listening, there's some evidence for you. You've either got to gear up your motivation, you've got to gear up your practice, you've got to start implementing things to help you practice if you actually want to awaken. If not, stop lying to yourself. I like it, it's a nice idea. So is a Mars bar or a beer, all right? Oh dear. You don't get a hangover from practicing presence. Your ego might get annoyed with you. Your ego might say, oh, this is really boring. Oh, I've got to practice and enter stillness again? Really? Yes, you'll have lots of that. But it's up to you. You can drag it out over 30 years or you can bring it into just a couple. So there's, again, the measurability is there. If you're not clear on it, make contact and we're going to have a little chat and then do an introductory session and put you into coaching so you notice the differences. This is how it works when you know it. And I help bump you up to that place where you experience it, then you know what it is. It's astounding. People have these great ideas and they do all this talking and then I take them into it. So I say, oh my God. Then they've got the homework. Then they can monitor and put the differences down in their journal. Presence journal, success journal, call it what you like. That's another reflection process that helps you fine tune your conscious mind and your unconscious mind. Because you're doing these activities, it's reinforcing to your unconscious, hey, this is where we're headed. and your unconscious will help you. Totally doable, totally measurable, if you want to see the differences and if you're doing the work. The application of your attention into presence. So yes, there is something you can do, and because you do it, it undoes the barriers that are in here that you developed between in the womb to whatever your age is now, but particularly those first 21 years, first 7 years most critically. It's how your neurology works. This is neuroscience, how to undo this stuff. It's the laws of the unconscious, yes. And then spirit becomes very noticeable and very tangible. Your presence and your stillness is here with you because your neurology knows what to do. So that's how the psychology plays into this. And the presence aligns you to help it shift the fastest. Am I here? Am I here? Am I here? Get clear on what's required, and with practice you get good at it. Get clear on what's required and what is in these videos. If it makes sense, then stick with it. Better stick with it and come and get some coaching and really move. If you want to believe all the fluffy stuff that's out there, all the spiritual mumbo jumbos, you won't come home because they don't have much to do with presence. I teach healing systems, Golden Ray. It's actually an ascension school, but it's about presence. Reiki, teach Reiki. The best healers are the ones that are present when they're doing these healing systems. They are aware of the nothingness, they let it come through. They become the clear channel for grace. I've got a ton of amethyst at home, 1,000 kilos of it. So what? It's nice to have around. I do crystal cave healing, it's fantastic stuff. But the presence is what makes these other things help. So that's the spiritual stuff. You can do the spiritual stuff, but if you're present with it, then it amplifies it. If you're not present, it really just doesn't work. If you're doing therapies just in your head, it's only going to work at the head level, especially if you're not associated with your emotions. If you're doing disassociation techniques, I mean, they're great for sort of undoing some levels of trauma, but really, you've got to be fully aligned, fully grounded, and you've got to fully feel the stuff, which is tricky if it's, you know, core trauma and it's triggering your amygdala. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, definitely. Also, if it's in your lineage and your DNA, I mean, that stuff's hardwired, you know. It's the proteins, physical proteins that are locked. It's nothing to do with beliefs. It's physical. That stuff can be shifted. Again, hard yakka, but you learn to be present with it. You learn to be present when your adrenals are firing off and you're going into freak out mode. You learn to be present and hold it. That's why there's a video here on emergency responses. I was hit by a car. So lucky I didn't get mashed to buggery. So lucky. Fully functional afterwards. Did a video, very coherent. Went to work that day because my presence practice kept my neurology functional and actually stopped a lot of the trauma responses from kicking in and putting my body into shock. This stuff has measurable outcomes. If you're not having those measurable outcomes, then it's not real, is it? You know when a house is ready because you can see the walls and the roof and the windows and the carpet. If you don't have the evidence with the presence practice that it's here with you in life, then either you're doing something wrong or you're not practicing correctly. Measurable. Be honest. You've got to want to be honest. Are you? We have a fantastic, wonderful being on the planet at the moment that shows us that they are totally dishonest, they change their mind all the time, they lie all the time, and they think that they're actually being truthful. He's got orange hair and he's a president of the United States. Very easy to see from outside. Always check inside if you're lying to yourself. I still do it. I still check, am I lying to myself? It's a very good thing to do. So it's getting quite dark. Be aware of your stillness and your presence. Notice when you have this in your life. When you remember, practice as best as you can, hold it as best as you can, come back as frequently as you can. Were you practicing at 8 o'clock this morning or between 8 and 9? How many times did you check in? There's your evidence. Remember back. Be honest. If this is resonating for you, then you know that this level of clarity is going to assist you, because not a lot of teachers give this level of clarity, or they'll give you stuff that can't be measured. If you can't measure it, really, why would you? That's a very serious question. Why would you do something that you can't be precise about? You know? So there we go. Prepare yourself. Practice. And that actually means that it happens because your system and the everything knows that you're ready for this to happen. I can't seem to stop, can I? It's like running a marathon. How do you know you're ready for a marathon? Because you've done enough practice so you can handle it. Are you ready for a marathon if you've sat on the couch for a month? Anyway, thanks for watching. Check out some of the other videos. Send us a question. Make contact. And the coaching is so cheap it's ridiculous. This level of clarity is not available out there, and it's cheap. So make contact and come home. I'm Jason for AwakenedEssence.com. As dusk hits us,